T minus 3, 2, 1, ignition.
What you know about this life? Yeah. Just relax, baby, get high. Yeah, you're on your way to the best night ever. No top, no top.
So then I told her, I am not calling you in the morning. We're doing it live. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Fucking thing sucks.
Rolling.
Hello, and good evening, Best Night Ever League. You're watching the BNEL News, and I am your anchorman, Ron Burgundy. And this evening, I will be your guide to the top stories around the league. For those of you who are new to the show, it's important for you to know. I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. I'm a man. I'm an anchorman. The kind of man who discovers the wheel and builds the Eiffel Tower. With that introduction out of the way, I'm here with Champ Kind with sports. And Champ, you're looking a little worse for the wear there, buddy. You lose your cowboy hat?
Ron, I am so hungover. This morning, I woke up in the Chinese family's rec room, and they would not stop screaming.
Well, that just sounds awful. And you're back on the wagon already?
You betcha, Ron. All right. First up, Finley versus Cam. This one ended up being close. Finley had a chance to sneak in a win with DJ Moore on Monday night, but had no such luck, losing 140 to 152. Finley had a strong production from his three running backs who combined for 61 points, but managed less than 25 from his QBs. So Cam had a huge week thanks in a large part to rookie QB CJ Stroud. Bijan Robinson added 25 points, and he also got some strong performances from Howell and Keenan Allen. With that win, Cam came one step closer to securing a playoff spot and now controls his own destiny.
Well, that's just great.
The next matchup of the week is Andrew versus Michael. An unexciting matchup, but important nonetheless. As Andrew got the win 144.02 to 113.98, Andrew secured the victory off strong performance from his QBs.
Strong performances from his quarterbacks? Well, that is shocking.
What isn't shocking is that CMC had another terrific game. As for Michael, new addition to Tyreek Hill looks impressive in another otherwise dud week for his team. And that win, Andrew has locked up a playoff spot.
I don't believe you.
Believe it or not, Ron, for the first time ever, Andrew is heading to the playoffs. For that, I'm going to drink.
Looks like I'll be taking over for Champ for the rest of sports. We've got a few more matchups up next, right after the break, and these words from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Brian Fantana. Here with my good friend Ron Burgundy. Men, have you been having trouble with the ladies? Has the stress and disappointment of fantasy football left you struggling in the bedroom? Well, we have the solution for you. Sex Panther by Odina. It's a special scent. It's illegal in 9 countries. Yep, it's made from real panther parts. So you know it's good.
It's quite pungent.
Oh yeah.
It is a formidable scent. Really stings the nostrils.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you, Brian. It smells like pure gasoline.
They've done studies, you know. 60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, men, try for yourself and go see if you can make that little kitty purr.
Hi there, Champ Kind here, your local sportscaster, and boy do we have a great product for you all. Introducing the first ever fantasy football guide for dummies. I fully endorse this book written by Connor Schumacher and I got my buddy Brian here to tell you all about it.
Thanks, champ. I am thrilled to be here and think this could be of great use to many of you. Believe it or not, this book is written by a man that has never lost the Best Night Ever League.
Never won it either.
Painfully close, though. I'm sure he appreciates the reminder, champ. Let me ask you guys, are you sick of ending up in the loser's bracket? Do you fear making trades due to potential shame and mockery from the league? Do you blow all your fab on horrible players? Are your drafts riddled with busts? Well, look no further, because this guide will give you all the tools to be slightly above average. Written by the third most winning team in the history of the league, I am confident that this book will elevate your team.
At only $69.99, this deal is too good to pass up. Orders can be placed at www.fantasyfootballfordummies/guide/2024/order/buy.net. Okay, here's the thing.
How's my hair? And we're back. Boy, those targeted ads sure know their market, don't they? All right, the next matchup we have Thomas versus Jacob. Let me tell you, it was a real snoozer of a matchup. These were the two lowest scoring teams of the week. Jacob managed to win 115-87. And with that win, Jacob has secured a playoff berth. His team has some issues at running back, particularly some depth issues, and his team is starting to show some cracks. As for Thomas's team, it is cracked, broken, and ground into a fine powder. It is a truly pitiful and hopeless situation.
Where'd you get his team from? The toilet store?
In the last and most explosive matchup of the week, we had Connor versus Bobby. With major playoff implications, the league's two highest-scoring teams faced off in an incredible matchup. Bobby secured a narrow victory, 192-183. This was one of the highest-scoring games of the season, as fireworks erupted between these two teams. And boy, it escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast. Bobby didn't have a bad player and was led by his quarterbacks, who combined for 77 points. Connor had some big performances as well, but sadly, a dud from Lamar and -1 from his kicker sealed his fate. This win for Bobby was huge, as he's now secured a playoff spot, and it was even more significant of a loss for Connor, who, despite being the second highest scorer of the week, picked up a loss and is now facing down the barrel of the loser's bracket. This was Connor's fourth loss by 10 points or fewer. When asked about his loss, Connor had few words but was clearly upset. I quote, "I am a glass case of emotion. Bobby, go back to your home on Whore Island." Before we wrap up for the evening, we wanted to set the stage for where the league stands headed into the final week of the regular season. Bobby versus Jacob is a huge matchup for playoff seeding. Neither team has secured the 1 seed, but both can with a win. Bobby is without his Bills stack and Josh Jacobs, which hurts his chances. Cam versus Andrew is another huge showdown, as a win would secure a playoff spot for Cam. Andrew has some tough matchups with his players, but incredibly, still has a chance to secure the 1 seed. Next up is Connor versus Thomas. It's an important matchup as well. Connor needs a win and a Cam loss to be able to sneak into the playoffs. However, he will be without Lamar and TJ Hawkinson, so he'll need a big performance from his other players. Lastly, we've got Michael versus Nick Finley. Not a very significant matchup, but still some loser's bracket implications. A win by Finley plus a loss by Connor could potentially move Nick into the number 5 spot if his team outscores Connor by enough. That number 5 seed gets to play Thomas in the first round, which is a huge advantage to avoiding having to play in the Shard Bowl. And with that, that's all for tonight. I'm your anchorman, Ron Burgundy. Go fuck yourself, Best Night Ever League. Hey everyone, Connor here. Hope you all enjoyed the recap. I just wanted to take a couple minutes to dive in a little bit deeper into how playoffs are shaping up. I covered it a little bit in the recap, but wanted to really dive in so everyone had the full context of the importance of all the matchups. So on this first slide here, you can see the current standings. as well as the current 0.4. And then I did group them into like 3 groups. The bottom here in red, these are the locked in losers. And then in the middle here, Cam and I in the yellow, we're fighting for the 4th spot. And then Bobby, Andrew, and Jacob are all 8-4 and locked into the playoffs. And then in this difference column here, you can see the point total difference between kind of the leader of the group. So Bobby's comfortably in the lead for 0.4. Andrew and Jacob are quite a bit behind. Not really realistic that they would surpass Bobby. So assuming that Bobby gets the win, then he pretty much, locks himself into the number 1 seed. And then these totals here are the difference between Andrew and Jacob. And then same deal goes for myself and Cam. I have about 50 points more than Cam, which is the tiebreaker. So in the event that I were to win and Cam were to lose, Cam would have to outscore my team by 50.66 in order to kind of get that tiebreaker. So the matchups here I listed on the right, obviously some really big games. It's kind of awesome that it's worked out this way, where the last week still has so much at stake. So as far as range of outcomes go, like I said, there's still a huge range of outcomes for just about anyone. The 1 seed hasn't been claimed yet. In fact, no seeding within the playoff bracket has been locked in yet, so that's kind of crazy. As for the losers bracket, the 5 and 6 spots are still up for grabs, but then 7 and 8 are locked in. The bottom dwellers have been there for basically the whole season. So just to give some context on each of these last matchups, Bobby versus Jacob is a big one. If Bobby wins, he secures that 1 seed. If he loses, then Bobby would likely drop to number 3. But if Bobby does win, he could potentially drop Jacob to number 4. If Cam wins, again, that's due to the points 4. And then Jacob, if he wins, he'll secure one of the top 2 seeds. If Andrew loses, then Jacob would get bumped up to the 1 seed. Or he could potentially just outscore Andrew to get that tiebreaker. And then again, if Andrew were to win and Jacob were to win, Bobby could drop all the way to the number 3 seed. And then Andrew and Cam, this is obviously the matchup that I'm most invested in. But there's a lot of playoff seeding involved for both parties, so it should be a great game. If Andrew were to win, he could potentially secure the 1 seed. He would need a couple other things to happen. He would need Jacob to beat Bobby, and then he would still need Jacob to score 21.6 or less, or I guess not score more than 21.6 than Andrew. One thing to note that I forgot to mention on this Bobby versus Jacob matchup, Bobby is without the Bills players as they're on a bye, also without Josh Jacobs. So that's pretty tough for Bobby. Jacobs' team is pretty much at full strength, so Bobby's definitely, I would say, the underdog in that matchup. And then getting back to this one here, Andrew can secure the number 2 seed with a win and Jacob losing. And then my favorite scenario, he could potentially knock Cam out of the playoffs. And then if Cam were to win, he secures playoffs, minimum of the 3rd seed. In the event that he won, he would leapfrog Andrew in the playoff seeding. Cam could bump all the way up to number 2 if Jacob also lost, and assuming the scores break in the certain way, but he does have a pretty comfortable lead on points 4 against Andrew and Jacob. So Cam has a huge range of outcomes. And then again, there's a scenario where Andrew could potentially drop to number 4 in the playoff seeding. And then myself versus T-Bay. If I were to win, I would still need Cam to lose in order to not go into the losers bracket. The best I can do is get the 4 seed. there is a situation where Cam might still lose and I could win and I still wouldn't make playoffs. But Cam would have to score 50 more points than I would in this last week. And that certainly is plausible, but I do feel pretty comfortable with a 50-point buffer. So hopefully I can just do what needs to be done and beat Andrew, and then beat Thomas, and then hopefully Andrew can beat Cam. Assuming I don't make playoffs, I'm pretty locked into the 1 seed of the losers bracket, but there's a situation where I could drop to the 6th seed if I were to lose, and if Finley were to win, and if Finley scored 43 points more than me, because then that would secure the tiebreaker for him for the playoff seeding. I would love to be able to play Thomas in the first round. Well, I'd love to make playoffs, but I'd like to be able to play Thomas in the first round of the playoffs, or of the losers bracket. So yeah, I mean, again, the only real matchup that doesn't have huge implications is Michael versus Nick, since they're both locked into the losers bracket and seeding is pretty much set in that bracket. So yeah, it should be super exciting last week. I know I will be incredibly stressed and anxious, and I just hope that all of you will be equally as stressed and anxious as I am. Thanks. See you guys.